If you are a fan of Chinese takeout, you are going to love today's video. This video was actually Christy's idea because their family likes to get Chinese takeout.
We really do, and because we have freezer meals all the time, we get to plan our Chinese takeout, which is very nice, but also it is nice to still have it in your freezer.
And for me, it's so nice to know what's going into these meals and be able to control things like the spice level or the ingredients for if you've got allergies like I do. And so this is just a great way. It also saves a ton of money. So join us today while we put together these homemade Chinese takeout inspired freezer meals. This first recipe is Moo Shu Pork, and it's actually inspired by my Chinese food experience. Back when my husband and I were first married, we used to go to this Chinese restaurant in the neighboring city. We so looked forward to it, and our favorite thing to have there was the Moo Shu Pork. That restaurant has been closed for like over a decade, and he and I have talked about, oh, do you remember that Moo Shu Pork? And so finally, I decided to invent our own so that we can experience this at home and not have to miss it. And so that is our Moo Shu Pork freezer meal that we made this about a year ago. Like,
has it been that long?
I think so.
Okay.
And your family really liked it?
We loved it.
And we were like, yes, this is actually captured the flavors and gives us what we were missing. And my husband and I felt like we did it justice. So
let's get started. Start it with our pork in a bag. It's already sliced up, ready to go.
And then we're going to add some cabbage. Now it calls for red or purple cabbage, but I'm cheating and using coleslaw that's already cut for me. We're just gonna add that into a quart-size bag. And then some shiitake mushrooms, which my store was sold out of, so these are crimini mushrooms and it'll be fine.
Is that how you say it?
How are you supposed to say it?
I always say crimini.
Oh, probably. Crimini sounds right.
Maybe. They could be either way.
Tell us in the comments. I don't know how you would say.
Write it out phonetically in the comments.
So we've got our crimini or crimini.
Crimini.
Crimini. It's crimini, right? It sounds.
I think it's crimini.
Sounds better. In this bag, and then we're gonna add a splash of oil and get this bag sealed up, making sure that we take all the air out of it, because when you're freezer cooking, air causes your freezer burn.
In our bowl here, we are going to make the sauce. We're going to start with our orange juice, which is over here.
I'm going to seal it with air in it and then give it a shake and then open it back up and get the air out.
Into our bowl is half a cup of orange juice. We're going to add in hoisin sauce. Now, Charlotte's house is one of those houses that always has all the sauces. And we had a discussion this morning about whether she had an open bottle of this or not. And we decided that she didn't, and that the last time we had talked about hoisin sauce, I think we had to improvise because maybe there wasn't any at the time. But that's okay. We're here now and we have it.
2 tablespoons soy sauce.
Now, there is a woman in our Facebook group that really had just talked about this recently, and she had just tried it for the first time with her family, and it was a hit, like a mega, mega, mega hit. A teaspoon of sesame oil, and so I let her know that lots of times when we make this, we just like to double it because it goes that fast. It is that good.
Now we're gonna add some garlic. We just use our minced garlic from a jar.
4 cloves. Oh, I can 4.
Okay.
Do you think that's too much?
Yeah, I do.
I have, right now at home, I have a bulb of garlic that is massive.
Did you grow it?
No, I had to buy it. No, I bought it, but yes. So I'm like, you can have big garlic cloves. Fresh ginger, and then this one is done.
We use our ginger from a squeezy tube.
Go for it.
So squeeze that in there. We're gonna mix together our sauce, and then we're going to put half of the sauce in with the pork strips. Now, what we did for these is you can cut a pork tenderloin or boneless pork chops. I was able to find boneless pork chops in a Plenty for 20 sale, which is when you can buy 4 packs of meat for $20. Plus I got 15% off of that. So a really great price on these. Just slice those up, and that's what we've got. So we're gonna marinate that because as it thaws on the day you go to make this, it'll just marinate in this sauce. Then we're gonna put the rest of the sauce in another bag. We're gonna staple all these bags together because when you go to make this, you're gonna have everything you need for it. On the day that you go to make this one, it's really easy, fries up really quickly, but you're gonna start with your marinated pork in that skillet. Then when it's browned and cooked through, you're gonna set it aside and you're gonna use the same skillet and fry up your cabbage and mushrooms. You can add a little bit of oil if you need to that part, and then you can add back in the pork and the extra sauce. The sauce is like where all the flavor is.
Double chef's kiss. I didn't really mean to do both, but it is double chef's kiss.
And then you can serve this in Chinese pancakes, or if you don't have any of those on hand, you can just use flour tortillas. So now you've got your first dish towards your Chinese takeout night, but you know, maybe Moo Shu Pork isn't enough. Maybe you want to have some...
Oh, if we're gonna have the pork dish, we also have to have like a beef dish or a chicken dish or a fried rice, you know.
So let's move on to a beef and broccoli. So beautiful. This is one of our more popular recipes actually, because we featured it in a sheet pan cooking class that we did. We will put a link in the description below to that free cooking class where you get like a PDF with all the recipes, the shopping list, the prep list, everything that you need. You even get the printable labels, which are so handy. And this recipe is featured in there. The other thing that is so great about a sheet pan meal is we're actually doing 2 sheet pan meals today. And so if you were literally cooking all of this up for one like massive Chinese takeout theme night at your place, or even to do a dinner party with this, you could put a sheet pan on the top shelf of your oven and a sheet pan on the bottom shelf of your oven. Cook them at the same time because I believe they cook at around the same temperature, and those could be ready. In the meantime, you're just heating your other things in skillets, so this could actually all be cooked at the same time.
Really could.
And when I was planning out these recipes, I kept that in mind because I was like, it has to be realistic.
Oh, absolutely. Because you know how you either get the combo for 4 or you make your own combo. You know what I mean? And everybody's got their favorites. You know what you order at your house. You can probably make that into Chinese food that you can freeze. I promise.
And we're going to be giving you some suggestions later in the video for some other recipes we have that would be perfect for a Chinese takeout night. We couldn't feature them all today because we have so many.
We actually really do.
Okay, so we've got our beef strips in a bag, and this time I was actually able to buy them in strips already. Then we're gonna add 5 cups of broccoli. You know, when we were talking about allergies, I actually have a broccoli allergy, so Christy's gonna do that.
This is a 4 cup, and there's a bit left in the bag, so I'm just gonna dump the whole bag. So
sounds good.
How nice that we have the whole amount. And we're just using frozen broccoli here. You could use fresh if you like, and that's totally fine.
So the beef and broccoli is not one that I'm gonna be eating because of the allergy to broccoli thing. And Chinese takeout is actually not something that I can get. It's something I have to make because I also have an MSG allergy. So the great thing about these two is that you can be guaranteed there's no MSG in them.
That's right.
Now we're gonna add some low sodium soy sauce. Really important that you actually use low sodium, otherwise this will taste too salty. And we're just gonna add this right into our freezer bag.
Half cup.
We're also going to be adding garlic, again, just from the jar, honey, brown sugar, sesame oil, rice vinegar, ginger, again from the squeezy tube, salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper right into the bag, and then we'll squish it all together. Even though this one only has really 2 colors, it's still kind of a pretty one.
It is a pretty one. Now this guy is a little bit more complicated to cook, even though it is a sheet pan meal. On the day you go to cook this, you are going to fish out with a slotted spoon the broccoli and the beef and leave the sauce in the bag just for a little bit, because then you're gonna put that on your sheet pan. Then you're gonna take the sauce and put it in a small pot on your stove. You're gonna add a cornstarch slurry. Do you know what that is? It's when you take like about a quarter cup maybe of cold water, and you're gonna add in a tablespoon or two, probably just a tablespoon in this case, of cornstarch. And you're gonna mix it together, and then you're going to dump that into your boiling sauce on the stove, and it's going to thicken it. So you're gonna cook this in the oven on your sheet pan while you're making your sauce for 20 minutes, and then you're going to drizzle that sauce over your sheet pan, and by then it's thick and it's warm and it's delicious. This is better than Chinese takeout.
And if you want, you can fancy it up and sprinkle some sliced green onions and
Sesame
some
seeds.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. You would think that you really went and got it from Smiley's down the road.
Because we're working with beef strips anyway, we might as well just continue. So we've got our beef strips already in the bag, and we're gonna add some thinly sliced onion, some garlic just from the jar. This one is coming together like it's so fast because there's not very many ingredients. Then some ginger, again from the squeezy tube. When you use similar ingredients in multiple recipes, it also saves you money. Yes, it saves you time because we've got all these things out anyway, but it saves you money because you're able to buy those things on sale, you're able to buy them in bulk. I was able to get these things on 15% off day. So yes, all the things. Now we're gonna add some beef broth and some soy sauce.
It was glugging. If I know that I'm gonna use the whole thing, I usually punch the hole there so you get the airflow, but that's okay. How much? Quarter cup.
Quarter cup. We will put the recipe for these in the description below the video so that you can grab the full recipe and be able to make these yourself at home.
Now, when you go to cook these at home, you are going to actually do this one in the slow cooker, because what that is going to do is it is going to tenderize those beef strips. Any sinew, anything that needs to be broken down in your beef strips are going to be like butter in your mouth. The only way that this is slightly different than how you would have it in a regular Chinese restaurant is it doesn't seem to have that breaded quality that sometimes you find in your ginger beef. And that is a-okay. You aren't even going to miss that because the ginger is there, the beef is there, the flavor is there.
I forgot the label.
So the best part about being in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, or if you take our cooking class that has the labels have the name of the recipe, it has how to cook the recipe, it's got cooking instructions right on it, and the ones in the club actually have the date that you have made the recipe so that you can keep track of it in your freezer, because we don't recommend you keep these longer than 3 to 6 months, and then it starts to get questionable. It's still fine to eat, it is completely safe to eat, but after that point in time, you're starting to get into the freezer burn. That's why we're really careful to take out all of the air.
Next, let's do the cashew chicken sheet pan because it is so good. And my favorite recipes are recipes that are colorful, and this one is colorful.
Yes, you see all of the color happening here? We have big plans for all the color that is happening here. The cashew chicken has a few extra steps, kind of like the Moo Shu Pork, where we're marinating some over here, we're marinating some over there, and then we staple those bags together. It's great.
We do recommend that if you are going to do this at home, you actually double each of these recipes, because then you're prepping everything all at once. It hardly takes any extra time to just cube up some extra chicken, and then you can have 2 Chinese takeout nights for really the same amount of work.
Yes, you can. And we also recommend that you do your freezer meals with a friend.
It makes it so much more fun, and we definitely enjoy it more. I had to film some videos recently without Christy, and it was a little sad.
I was sick at home, so I didn't really want to be breathing on her food. And it was extra sad because you had to do all that chicken by yourself, and she's not normally the one that likes to take apart a rotisserie chicken, and I can do it at my sleep, so she had to do it all by herself.
I'll have a link to that very sad video up there. The recipes are delicious. The sad part is me on my lonesome and me having to touch gross chicken.
It was cooked. It was cooked chicken, but when it's cold, it's not always the nicest to touch with your hands. That's really funny. Okay, so into this,
we've got our cubed chicken already in our bag. we recommend doing your prep the day before, and that's going to become even more important with the next recipe that we're working on. But anyway, this has all been prepped. So we've got now we're going to add snow peas.
Into this one.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we're gonna add cashews. I'm only gonna add half of this because the other half is going in the next recipe. Because what would cashew chicken be without cashews?
We need the cashews.
That's it for this bag for now. We're gonna set it aside and start working
until we get into our sauce.
On the next bag, which is, we've got our yellow bell pepper that's coarsely chopped, our red bell pepper, coarsely chopped, our orange bell pepper, are you sensing a theme?
Coarsely chopped.
And then our purple onion, coarsely chopped.
Everybody together.
And is that it for that bag? That's it for that bag. Now we're gonna do the sauce.
Yes.
And I have my lovely friend,
I'm the sauce
Christy.
lady. I'll be the sauce lady today. That is just a-okay with me.
So for our sauce, we're gonna add soy sauce, rice vinegar, sesame oil, garlic, and ginger. Kind of similar ingredients that we've been using in some of the other recipes, which is great because we have them out.
It's so handy. It really, really is.
All right, now we're gonna pour half of our sauce in one bag and half in the other. Now, the reason these have to be in separate bags is because when you do this, this is a sheet pan meal, so you can do it at the same time as your beef and broccoli if you want. But when you do it, you're gonna put your vegetables on your parchment paper lined cookie sheet and in the oven first. Then you're gonna add your chicken cashew snow pea mixture because you don't want those to get overcooked. So they have to cook for different times, and that's why they're in different bags, but they'll still have the same sauce. It'll still like marry together on the sheet pan and be completely delicious. The next dish that we're gonna do is a pineapple fried rice. Earlier I was saying that we were gonna share some other recipes with you or ideas with you for recipes that you could make. We have an amazing chicken fried rice recipe, so you could absolutely make that. It makes a great freezer meal. Now, kind of the key to fried rice in general is using day-old rice. And like I was saying earlier with why you should do prep the day before, it's really because then it's just less overwhelming. Things are all ready, things are so fast to put together, and it just makes it easier and better. But for this one, it's also because when you're putting ingredients into freezer bags, it's important that they're cooled. So if you make your rice on the same day, then you're gonna have to wait for it to cool. Whereas if you make it the day before, you can put it in the fridge, it can cool overnight, and then it's completely ready to go. And day-old rice is always better in fried rice.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna add our cooked, cooled rice to our bag. Now, another recipe that we think that you should do for your Chinese takeout inspired menu is our egg roll in a bowl.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Such a classic, and you can have those egg roll flavors. Also cooks up super fast. Now we're gonna add some garlic and minced onion, then some diced red pepper, some frozen peas, which I forgot to get, so oh, thank you.
That is the other reason to do freezer meals with a friend. That's what I was thinking also, like I was cleaning out the bowls and we were gonna reuse this cup, but it had broccoli in it. So I'm like, I will wash this properly so we don't poison Charla to use it for the rice. And I thought that's the other reason to do freezer meals with a friend, because it's half the cleanup, it's half the work.
It is. It's just, it makes the day go by so fast too. But Christy totally said to me, like, we need frozen peas. And I was like, yeah, I'll grab those. But I didn't.
That's okay, I'm here to help.
Draining the pineapple, and I had to drain it with a spoon because I threw the lid away. It's just that kind of day.
It's okay. How much do we need? Half a cup, I think?
We need half a cup. It can
Okay.
be a generous half cup.
Sure.
Estimate. And our pineapple chunks that we drained. Of course, you want to keep your pineapple juice and drink it, or somebody in the house is going to drink it. Yep, it's all going to Christy. And then we're gonna add some green onions that are sliced. Got beautiful colors in this one too, like gorgeous. And some Chinese 5-spice.
I pulled it out and it's over there.
Okay, it is 1 teaspoon.
Yeah. Chinese 5-spice has been my secret ingredient, not a secret ingredient, for my fried rice for years and years and years.
And then we're going to do some low sodium soy sauce. It's just 2 tablespoons.
Okay, I'm gonna eyeball this sucker. 1.
And cashews. Now the cashews are optional, so they do add some protein for you. Just calls for half a cup of the cashews, so we're just gonna add that. And now we wanna add some chili garlic sauce or sriracha sauce. I always have both on hand.
You often have many of these on hand. I think I counted 5 one day and I was giving her a hard time for it.
It's true.
Just a teaspoon, hey?
I think
This already has the spice on it, so
we should add more. Like just
okay.
eyeball it, but add more. If you like things spicy, add more. If you don't, don't. But it really is good. And when you eat it, you can serve it with extra sriracha if you want. This one is one that you could also portion into individual containers because the rice is already cooked and the protein is just the cashews, so you don't need to cook that part of it either. So this is one that you could reheat in the microwave if you did them in freezer safe microwavable containers. So this is just another option for you. Oh, it's pretty.
Oh, it's very pretty.
And it smells good with that Chinese 5-spice. Don't you think they need to invent smell-o-vision?
I do.
They talked about that in the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
I would actually be tempted to eat this today for dinner, except that I've got pork carnitas in the slow cooker and I'm super excited about those.
I don't know what I have at home, so I'll figure. I might have one of these at home, actually.
You haven't taken out your meal yet today.
I have not taken out my meal yet today. I came over here very early this morning to come and film. And by the time I get home, there will be still plenty of time for it to defrost. I might not put it in the fridge to defrost. I can do it in the sink with cold water or lukewarm water. It's enough to get it going. Oh, I know why. Because we have freezer meals, we don't often get Chinese takeout. We don't often get pizza takeout because my life is organized in the food department. It's not like we have nothing going on, so I need to get it, right? So when we do them, it's planned. So last night we were supposed to have a deep fryer night. And my daughter was in town. We live rural, so it's not like you run to town for a jug of milk. You do without and you figure it out until the next time you go to town. So we didn't have the deep frying stuff, and that's what we were going to do. And then she forgot. She drives now. She has her own car and she drives, and after school she was going to pick it up and come home, and she forgot. That's okay. I am going to go to town later today and I will get the deep fryer stuff. So that is why I didn't take one out. It was on by design because we are having a deep fryer night. And so we're having hot chicken wings with, which is funny because we do have 2 different recipes in the club for chicken wings, but hot chicken wings with the blue cheese dressing. And she gave me a list of things that she would like. And I know that my son and my husband will just want lemon pepper chicken wings. That's all they care about. They don't I will eat the hot sauce wings with her.
Have you had the lemon pepper drumsticks?
Yes.
And how were they?
Because they had the coating on it, I felt like it didn't stick as nicely. I think that's maybe something we need to freeze individually on a tray before putting in the bag. The coating didn't stay on the drumsticks like I had hoped. The first time I made it, I found this recipe and I had made it. I had changed it somewhat too, but because of what I had on hand. But I made it fresh and it was just explode in your mouth flavor. And our whole house loves lemon pepper. And so I showed Charla and we tried it in our last mega session. And we'll put a link there for it. It was still very flavorful, but it wasn't as appealing with
You're right.
It got a bit soggy and it kind of fell off.
I think if we did flash freeze them on a baking sheet with the coating on them.
Yeah.
and then transferred them to a freezer bag, they would hold the coating better.
And I think if we did the coating, like these aren't in egg or a buttermilk, like there's nothing besides just chicken being damp because chicken is damp.
Right.
Holding it on there. So I think if we did an egg wash, like flour then egg, then the coating. So we're making it more complicated, but it is tasty enough. We are going to figure out this freezer meal.
What Christy's referencing is that we work really, really hard to get the recipes club worthy for you. We don't just throw things in there willy-nilly, and we don't put things in there that have not been tried and tested.
And approved.
And I have
with the exception of one, but that's another story for another day.
I have a kind of funny story. And Christy's heard it already this morning. But last night, I made the Philly cheesesteaks for my family. But they're now we have a chicken cheesesteak recipe that is amazing.
Double
so
chef's
good.
kiss.
It's like, go try that one. It's great. And again, it's been tested and all the things. But in that mega session, we tried a steak Philly cheesesteak recipe. And so I put it in the slow cooker. I had a meeting to go to last night, so I made it for the kids, told them what to do with it because it goes on hoagie buns and then you put the cheese on top, and the cheese was in a separate bag and and I left the label out for them from the empty bag just so they knew what to do. And so when I got home last night, I asked two of my sons, because this is a recipe that we are trying to figure out, is it club worthy?
Right.
So I said, how was it? And can you describe it to me? Okay. One of my sons says it wasn't fluffy enough, which
he's not the food critic of the house.
It was just what? Anyway, but my other son said this, and I thought it was quite profound. He said, it's like this. Beef is good. Onions are good. Peppers are good. They all have such good flavors on their own. But somehow in this recipe, it's almost like they canceled each other out. Then my other son, who was still standing there, was like, yes, that's what, yes, that describes what it was. It just was and then I was talking to Christy about it this morning when she got here, and her family has tried it.
Yep, and we just said, it's flat. Just something, it didn't jive. The chicken one is so good. We had high expectations for the cheesesteak, but because I love a good cheesesteak, I personally think it's probably worth trying again. But to do it honestly, I think you would need to fry those beef strips to get the crispiness and to get the intensifying of the flavor of the beef as part of it. I don't know the answer.
I think it also needs a really good sauce, maybe a horseradish mayo or I'm not sure. But we are going back to the drawing board with this one, is I guess what I'm saying to you. And I'm also trying to say, if the recipes are in the club, it means they're Charlotte Christie's stamp of approval. And also, we've got, between our two families, a lot of people trying these. And then we have a food photographer that makes them pretty for us. And so she actually makes them and then gets back to us with any questions that she has or anything she's not clear about in the instructions, which
that's
helps
super
us a lot. Then her family, which is also a fairly large family, try it and give kind of their feedback too. So by the time they get to you, a lot of people have eaten these.
Yes. So earlier when I referenced the lady in our Facebook group that often will give, when she first joined the club, every week she would give a rundown of what she made, exactly verbatim what her husband said, what her son said. She's her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend, who all is living in this house. We are getting a full rundown of what they think of these meals. And a lot of times there's a lot of skeptics in that house. that have been total freezer meal converts. I will tell you that much, because, you know, it's not something that people are familiar with all the time, or they can't wrap their head around it, or I don't like cashews. Well, you just ate them in this, and, you know, they're like, oh, I guess they weren't so bad. So that is happening a lot in her family, and we are enjoying the heck out of her reports every week in the Facebook group.
And for the Moo Shu Pork that we shared earlier, Carrie had said that one of her sons won't eat the mushrooms and cabbage.
Right.
So she actually fried, like she had 2 skillets going, one with the mushroom and cabbage and one with just the pork, and then served.
Again, that's the beauty of freezer meals, is you can adapt things to what works for your family and what doesn't. And whatever work you want to put into that, that is up to you. I applauded her on, you know, being sensitive to food issues in their house.
Totally.
Yeah.
Some of the other recipes I think would work really well for this. We've got a Mongolian beef that's delicious. I know it's, you know, not exactly Chinese food, but
But we have, but other Asian inspired ones. We have the Korean barbecue beef. We have Korean beef bowl.
we have Korean chicken.
We have Korean barbecue chicken with that.
it's so
I
good.
can't remember the name.
Gochujang.
Gochujang. Oh.
I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right,
But it's like cremini mushrooms.
Cremini.
The cremini mushrooms. No, the gochujang sauce that goes on the Korean chicken. Oh my goodness. So there are a lot of options if you want to have an Asian night.
I hope we've given you some ideas. If you love Chinese takeout, this is going to save you so much money. What I did just for fun is I looked up 2 different restaurants in our local area that do Chinese takeout, and I literally went through line by line and found the same or similar recipes. So like they each had a beef and broccoli, they had a fried rice. Now it wasn't necessarily a pineapple fried rice, sometimes it was a special fried rice, sometimes it was a veggie fried rice, but I compared similar recipes, took all 5 recipes that we made today, priced it out, and to do a similar Chinese takeout in our area to feed the same amount of people that these recipes would feed, it was $209, $217 maybe.
Wow.
Whatever, it was over $200, and that's not including if you do a delivery fee or if you pay a tip or anything like that. And here you know exactly what's going in the food. It can feed a crowd, and delicious.
Totally delicious and totally worth signing up for the club just for this, honestly.
And I was able to get all of the ingredients for everything we made today for under $100. So we paid less than half of what we would have. And you get even more savings if you make more of these. So if we had doubled each of these today, I would have been able to, you know, make it for less per meal. So anyway, give it a try. I'm really excited. I'm glad we did this video. You had a great idea.
It was a good idea. I have them once in a while.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and happy cooking.
Bye.